I almost felt sorry for two-tier Kia at that point, but not for long. Trump got stuck into the insanity of net zero, as we saw, renewables, both with Starmer and before that with the EU president. Here's a bit more of it.
Wind is the most expensive form of energy, and it destroys the beauty of your fields and your plains and your waterways. You could take 1,000 times more energy out of a hole in the ground this big. This big. It's called oil and gas. Wind needs massive subsidy. And you are paying in Scotland and in UK and all over the place where they have massive subsidies to have these ugly monsters all over the place. So I've restricted windmills in the United States.
And here with Ursula von der Leyen, the EU president, the best 20-second explanation you'll ever hear of the entire renewables hoax.
In other words, if you bury it, it will harm our soil. The whole thing is a con job. It's very expensive. And in all fairness, Germany tried it, and wind doesn't work. You need subsidy for wind, and energy should not need subsidy. With energy, you make money. You don't lose money.
Here, we're just losing money. Superb. Trump then waded into UK tax policy and Starmer's hideous inheritance taxes, and in doing so, he came to the support of farmers all around the world, including here.
We've got to fix that problem. We can't simply live with that problem, so it's a very different situation.
Well, we ended the estate tax. There is no estate tax on farmers. So when a parent leaves their farm, because again, a lot of these farms, they don't make a lot of money, but it's a way of life, and they love their way of life, and they love that dirt. That dirt is the most beautiful thing they've ever seen. They love it. I mean, they're farmers. They love doing it. They don't know how to do anything else, but they don't want to do anything else.
And so many farmers here in Australia would agree. No room for sentiment or niceties when it came to criticising Starmer's most important political ally, the repugnant Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan.
I'm not a fan of your mayor. Why not? I think he's done a terrible job, the Mayor of London. But a nasty person. I think he's done. I think he's
a friend of mine, actually.
No, I think he's done a terrible job.
Doesn't flinch. Donald Trump is right, of course. Sadiq Khan has overseen the absolute degradation of London, once such a beautiful city, and the disgraceful, endless anti-Semitic marches that take place almost weekly. And the filth in Soho. And then came these remarks, which will, with our own Australian internet bans coming into place in order to protect the children, saw Starmer basically lying through his teeth to the American president.
I don't think he's going to censor my site because I say only good things. Will you please uncensor my site?
Yeah, we're not censoring anyone. We've got some measures which are there to protect children.
Yeah, right. Starmer then repeated the lie.
To free speech today?
Well, free speech is very important. I don't know if you're referring to any place in particular. Perhaps they are, but
we've had free speech for a very, very long time here, so we're very proud of that.
Hundreds of people have been arrested in the UK over media posts, as we were talking about earlier. There's a woman serving time in jail for an internet post that's about to get a whole lot worse thanks to these insidious new Online Safety Acts. Have a listen to this girl.
Folks, I don't know how much longer I'm going to be able to make these videos for you, to be honest, because the way it's going, it looks like if I continue to make videos that are critical of immigration, I could well end up behind bars, because we have now got an elite police squad set up to monitor anti-migrant posts on social media.
The truth is, free speech is dead in Britain, and it is about to become dead here. Starmer may have been able to pull the wool over Trump's eyes for the moment, but ironically and scarily, Trump's own comments to Starmer about the evils of immigration, if released online, could potentially have the UK police knocking on Trump's door in the middle of the night if he was still in Britain. Have a listen.
You know, Europe is a much different place than it was just 5 years ago, 10 years ago. And they've got to get their act together. If they don't, you're not going to have Europe anymore as you know it. And you can't do that. This is a magnificent part of the world, and you cannot ruin it. You cannot let people come in here illegally. And what happens is there'll be murderers, there'll be drug dealers, there'll be all sorts of things that other countries don't want. And they send them to you, and they send them to us, and you've got to stop them.
As I said, if he made those comments online, the police would be knocking on his door in Britain. And that will be happening here in Australia too. But no sooner was Donald Trump on his plane heading home than the two-faced British Prime Minister declared his support for a Palestinian state, something Trump was very quick to dismiss.
You know, you're rewarding Hamas if you do that, and I don't think they should be rewarded. So I'm not in that camp, to be honest. We'll let you know where we are, but I am not in that camp.
Good to hear, but here's the point. Last week I had an argument with a prominent Conservative who, like so many of them, still suffers from chronic Trump derangement syndrome. And I said to him, every single policy position Australian Conservatives have droned on about, wringing their hands, banged on about for the last decade, Donald Trump has actually done something about every single one of them. And he argues his case superbly, every time. In that one trip to Scotland, Donald Trump prosecuted the entire Conservative agenda as it is relevant to this country, as well as many others, more efficiently and more successfully than the coalition did during the entire election campaign here. No, I never get tired of Trump winning, because I know here in this country we could and should be winning exactly the same battles on net zero, on immigration, on free speech, on taxing farmers, and on so much else with exactly the same arguments and passion that Donald Trump shows. But instead of embracing Trump's energy, agenda and common sense, the coalition still jumps at his shadow and prefers to pander to the progressive prejudices of the petulant Canberra press pack. And until they change, until they start telling it like Trump does, honestly, forthrightly, and without fear or without all the woke nonsense and spin, Australian Conservatives will keep on losing. Speaking of the obnoxious mainstream media, I just had to laugh at this.
Why didn't you invoke this law?
Well, we've been winning all along.
I just want to ask you, why didn't you invoke this law in your first term? You could have taken in billions upon billions of dollars in your first term, but you waited until your second term.
Yeah, because in my first term I was fighting lunatics like you who were trying to do things incorrectly and inappropriately to a president that was duly elected.
There you go. As I said, maybe not the gloat, but certainly the glute, the greatest Conservative leader of our time.